A very good evening and welcome to News at 6 on Rajya Sabha TV. My name is Aishwarya Kapoor. Well, demonetization and its aftermath continues to be our top focus. Now, 50,000 rupees per week withdrawal from overdraft accounts has now been allowed. Also, farmers can now buy seeds with old 500 rupee notes. Now, this even as the impasse over demonetization stalled Parliament proceedings today as well. All the details on that and much more in this bulletin in the next half an hour. Let us begin with the headlines. Both houses of Parliament adjourned for the day after uproar over demonetization issue. Combined opposition says House should mourn deaths caused by hardships in withdrawing currency notes. In a major concession to farmers, government allows the seed purchase with old 500 rupee notes to be valid at outlets belonging to the central or state governments. In Kanpur, the death toll in the Indore Express derailment mounts to 143. All 14 derailed coaches removed from tracks. 83 injured passengers hospitalized. India conducts twin trials of the Prithvi II missile. The surface-to-surface missile with a strike range of 350 kilometers is capable of carrying 500 to 1,000 kilograms of warheads. And in cricket, India beat England by 246 runs in the second test at Visakhapatnam. Ashwin and Jayant Yadav take 3 wickets each. Skipper Virat Kohli declared man of the match. Our top focus, the impasse over the demonetization issue stalled proceedings in the Rajya Sabha on Monday. A united opposition insisted on condoling the loss of lives caused by hardships due to the withdrawal of high-value currency notes. Meanwhile, the government hit out at the opposition for disrupting the proceedings while stating that it was ready for a discussion on demonetization. Now, as the government and the opposition locked horns, the House saw several adjournments through the day. The demonetization issue paralysed proceedings in the Rajya Sabha once again on the 4th day of the winter session of Parliament. After the House mourned the deaths due to the derailment of the Indore Express, opposition Congress, PSP, TMC and CPIM demanded a resolution condoling the deaths caused by demonetization.
ये जो 70 लोग अभी पिछले 15 दिन में लाइन में खड़े होकर पूरे देश में मर गए हैं, वो भी तो हमारे देशवासी हैं, वो भी गरीब हैं, किसान हैं, मजदूर हैं, उनके लिए भी तो यहाँ एक चेयर की तरफ से रेजोल्यूशन आना, यही हमारी मांग है।
जो बड़े नोटों पर जो पाबंदी लगाई है, जिसको लेकर काफी लोग मर चुके हैं, कोई भूखे रहकर, कोई प्यासे रहकर, कोई किसी को दवा नहीं मिली है, कोई सदमे से मर गए हैं, कोई बच्चों की शादी नहीं कर पाए, उससे मर गए हैं, उनका क्या होगा?
Nearly 70 people have died.
There is no such notice from you.
The House should express their sorrow and grief on that. A obituary reference on that must be there.
Leading government charge, Finance Minister Arun Jaitley lashed out at the opposition and alleged that the opposition parties were running away from the debate on demonetization.
उस पे बहस आरंभ हो चुकी है, बहस चल रही है, कुछ माननीय सदस्यों ने बोलना है, बहस का उत्तर देना है, विपक्ष उस बहस से भाग क्यों रहा है? Why are they running away from that debate?
Meanwhile, the chair clarified that obituary references cannot be taken up suo moto.
Obituary is not done by censor house. What are you talking?
You can't be so insensitive.
Obituary is not done by taking the censor house.
You can't be so insensitive.
No. And what is the authenticity of the number you are saying?
But the angry exchanges continued between the Treasury and the opposition benches, while opposition members entered the well, demanding the Prime Minister's response on demonetization. Ruling party members moved to the aisle, pressing for an immediate discussion, washing out 0 hour and question hour.
Authenticity of the number you are speaking. And obituary is not done by this way.
The deadlock continued even in the post-lunch session. With no imminent resolution amid heated verbal exchanges, the chair first adjourned the House till 3 p.m. and then till 11 a.m. on Tuesday. This is Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV. Well, we are facing certain technical issues, glitches there. We'll be back, but we'll just take a very short break. Stay tuned.
splendid, grand and massive neo-Buddhist copper dome of the Rashtrapati Bhavan. It gets its influence from stupa at Sanchi. The dome is more than twice the height of the rest of the building. The reinforced concrete shell of the outer dome began to be formed during the beginning of 1929. The last stone of the dome was laid on April 6, 1929.
Run of Kutch, an absolute unique white desert, wide expanse of land, bone dry. Run of Kutch in Gujarat is nothing but salt water from the Arabian Sea, trapped by shallow land. And when water recedes, hard layer of salt is left behind above a slippery, smooth mud. This area is also a tricky place along the highly volatile international border with Pakistan and is heavily guarded 24/7 by the Border Security Force. Total area of Run of Kutch, 7,500 square kilometers. That's 5 times the area of Delhi.
Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela, affectionately known as Madiba, was South Africa's first democratically elected president, an international peacemaker and statesman, and a Nobel Peace Prize winner. Through a long career as an activist, Mandela was a crusader for equal rights for South Africa's black majority. Having undergone frequent imprisonment, in 1964, Mandela was sentenced to life in jail, charged with sabotage, treason, and violent conspiracy. He narrowly escaped the gallows. He was released in 1990, having initiated talks with South African President de Klerk towards ending apartheid in the country. Mandela was awarded the Nobel Prize for Peace in 1993 for his efforts. In April 1994, the Mandela-led African National Congress won South Africa's first elections by universal suffrage. And Mandela was sworn in as president of the country's first multi-ethnic government. He retired from the presidency in 1999 and from public life in 2004. Nelson Mandela died on December 5, 2013 from a recurring lung infection.
Welcome back after the break. Before the break, we were telling you how the impasse over the demonetization issue stalled proceedings in the Rajya Sabha today. The proceedings in the Lok Sabha also were disrupted for the 4th consecutive day on Monday. Well, the issue again was demonetization. Now, even as the government expressed willingness for a discussion, the opposition insisted that question hour be suspended for a debate.
As soon as proceedings began on Monday, opposition parties were up in arms on the demonetization issue. Congress, TMC, left parties, NCP, RJD and JDU MPs demanded that the question hour be stalled to discuss the problems being faced by the common man. Parliamentary Affairs Minister Anant Kumar said the government was ready for a discussion under Rule 193.
आम जनता के, आम नागरिक के, किसानों के हर कठिनाई निवारण करने के लिए मोदी सरकार तैयार है, मैं ये आश्वस्त करना चाहूँगा। इसलिए इस विषय के बारे में वो चर्चा करे, बहस करे, उस बहस का जवाब देने के लिए हम तैयार हैं।
The Congress party's leader in the House, Mallikarjun Kharge, said the opposition was united in its demand that a discussion be held under Rule 56.
जनता के ग्रीवेंसेस को आपके सामने रखने के लिए आए हैं। जनता को जो तकलीफ हो रही है, लाइन में खड़े हुए लोग जो मर रहे हैं, उनके तरफ से हजारों लोग जो इंजर्ड हो गए हैं और आज अर्थव्यवस्था खत्म हो चुकी है।
Earlier, Speaker Sumitra Mahajan had turned down the opposition's demand, appealing to them to let the House function. As opposition uproar continued, the Speaker first adjourned the House till 12 p.m., then 2 p.m. and then till Tuesday. Pranav Goswami's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
All right, let's get you some ground stories. Well, demonetization has hit hard mostly cash-based retail businesses in the national capital that has witnessed an estimated plunge of 80% in sales ever since the government banned 500 and 1,000 rupee currency notes. Now, traders say that they just don't have enough cash to buy more stocks.
Daily business in Delhi markets continued to be sluggish on the 13th day of demonetization. Traders and merchants at Karibauli, one of the biggest wholesale markets in the city, have been the worst hit. The usual chock-a-block throng is missing. The few customers were the people with 100 rupee notes and a few others with the new 500 and 2,000 rupee ones.
दिक्कत ये और व्यापार में आ रही है कि पुरानी नोट बंद हो गई है, नई नोट बहुत नई के बराबर आ रही है। ठीक है, यही परेशानी है कि व्यापार में दिक्कत हो रहा है। लगता है कि व्यापार बंद करना पड़ेगा, ना वो पैसे ले रहे हैं, ना सामान आ रहा है आगे से।
Traders claimed that business had shrunk by almost 80%, with hardly any cash in the market.
हमारे को पुराने मिल रहे हैं, पुराने ही लाएंगे, नया मिलता नहीं है। अब जाते बैंकों में लाइन लगाएंगे, जब जाके लेंगे, और नहीं दे रहे हैं सामान तो घर जाएंगे, भूखे रहेंगे और क्या करेंगे।
Delhi Trade Association President Vijay Gupta said slow pace of exchange of currency notes has crippled their business.
ये वही पोजीशन है, क्रेडिट का व्यापार होता है होलसेल के अंदर, जब तक वो रुपए लेकर के नहीं आएगा तब तक व्यापार नहीं होगा। आज हम किसी को चेक से पेमेंट देता है हमें, तो हम उस पर विश्वास कैसे करेंगे।
The situation in other markets of Delhi was also similar. The coming days will tell us just how serious will be the effects of the demonetization move. Anu Diwan's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
On to some other news now. Well, the death toll in the Indore Express derailment in Kanpur has now mounted to 143. More than a dozen dead bodies were pulled out from under the debris on Monday morning, while a few others succumbed to injuries in hospitals. Well, all the 14 derailed coaches of the train were also removed from the tracks, clearing the way for other stranded trains. The relatives of the missing passengers, however, continue to search for their near and dear ones.
Rescue operations after the derailment of the Indore Express winded up on Monday as search teams found no hope of finding any more survivors. The derailed coaches were also cleared off the tracks.
हमारी तरफ से वो लगभग पूरा हो चुका है और हम लोगों ने बार-बार सर्च और फिर कंफर्मेटरी सर्च भी कर लिया है और हमारी तरफ से सर्च ऑपरेशन ये पूरा हो चुका है.
But scores of distraught people were seen sifting through the luggage and other belongings piled up at the side, looking for any clue about their missing family members and friends. Several others went from hospital to hospital in search of their loved ones.
मैं झांसी से हूँ, मेरी सगी बहन छोटी बहन, कोई जगह ऐसी नहीं बची जहाँ नहीं देखा. मेरी मदर है रश्मि द्विवेदी, उनकी एज करीब 70 साल है. मेन तो क्या प्रशासन जब तक पूरी जानकारी एकत्रित कर ले उसके बाद ही पूरी हमको भी मिलेगी.
कोशिश हम लोग ये कर रहे हैं कि सारे जितने भी पेशेंट वहाँ से आए पुखराया से उनको सब लोग हम लोग हैलेट हॉस्पिटल में रखें. 5 लोग जो कि रेजेंसी हॉस्पिटल जो कि एक प्राइवेट हॉस्पिटल है, लेकिन चूंकि वहाँ पे सुविधाएं बहुत अच्छी हैं इसलिए वहाँ पर भी उनको निःशुल्क भर्ती कराया गया है और अब बाकी लोग यहाँ पर हैं. तो उसमें जो लिस्ट है हम लोगों ने बाहर टांग दिया है और उसको हम हर थोड़ी देर पर अपडेट कर रहे हैं.
Nearly 100 of the over 200 injured are still undergoing treatment at various hospitals in Kanpur and neighbouring districts. Amid scenes of tragedy, a number of good Samaritans took it upon themselves to help the traumatized passengers. Amidst all this, Railway Minister Suresh Prabhu ordered a high-level probe into the incident, promising the strictest possible action against the guilty.
Statutory inquiry by Commissioner of Railway Safety into the accident has been ordered to determine the correct cause of accident. There shall be a separate comprehensive investigation aided by latest technical and forensic analysis by an appropriate agency to look into all possible angles. Strictest possible action would be taken against the guilty.
Rescue teams have completed their work and railway is now working to replace the new track to allow free train movement. Rail Minister made a statement assuring strict possible action against guilty. The accident again raises question on the preparedness of authorities.
The accident is one of the worst in at least 6 years. It comes at a time when the Railways has a long-term plan to ensure zero accidents on its network. With Navikram Singh in Kanpur, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And India on Monday successfully conducted twin trials of the nuclear-capable Prithvi II missile from a test range at Chandipur in Odisha. Now, the missile was test-fired twice in a quick succession as a part of a user trial by the Army. Now, with a strike range of 350 kilometers and a capacity to carry 500 to 1,000 kilograms of warhead, the missile was test-fired from the Launch Complex 3 of the integrated test range. Well, the missile is thrusted by a liquid propulsion twin engine. It uses an advanced inertial guidance system with maneuvering trajectory to hit its target. In a similar trial, India had earlier indigenously test-fired a nuclear-capable Prithvi II missile as a part of a user trial in May 2016. Well, on to some other news. Union Defence Minister Manohar Parrikar on Monday commissioned INS Chennai, the third indigenously designed guided missile destroyer into the naval fleet. Now, with a length of 164 meters and a displacement of over 7,500 tons, INS Chennai is among the largest destroyers constructed in India. The vessel will be placed under the operational and administrative control of the Western Naval Command. Now, speaking at the occasion, Parrikar called it a historic day for the Indian Navy. He also dismissed Pakistan's recent claims that it had prevented Indian submarines from intruding into their territory. The Defence Minister also hoped that cross-frontier shelling would subside in the near future.
Naval PR has already told you that it's totally blatant lie, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, absolutely right, sir. Yes.
So I don't have to answer beyond that. लेकिन मुझे लगता है अभी थोड़ा पहले से थोड़ी ये टेम्परेचर थोड़ा कूल हुआ है. I hope it cools down further.
News from Uttar Pradesh now. Well, 6 fighter jets of the Indian Air Force were the stars of the grand opening of India's longest expressway on Monday in Uttar Pradesh. Now, Chief Minister Akhilesh Yadav was present when his father and Samajwadi Party Supremo Mulayam Singh Yadav opened the Agra-Lucknow Expressway at Unnao. Now, Sukhoi and Mirage 2000 jets performed simulated landings, a first for any road launch. The 305 kilometers expressway has been completed in a record 23 months. Well, it is tipped to reduce the travel time between Delhi and Uttar Pradesh's capital from 9 hours to around 5 hours.
आपको बधाई देते हैं कि ये सड़क ऐसी है जो देश के लिए उदाहरण बनकर के बनी है, जहां पर पुल हैं, फ्लाईओवर हैं, न जाने क्या क्या है, इसलिए मैं आपको बधाई देता हूं.
Well, more news from across the country in Nationwide. 32 fishermen were taken into custody by Forest Department personnel for carrying out unlawful fishing activity along the Gahir Matha Marine Sanctuary in Odisha. The 4 trawlers were seized along a prohibited marine sanctuary area. The arrested fishermen have been sent to judicial custody under the Wildlife Protection Act and Odisha Marine Fishing Regulation Act. A BSF soldier was killed and 3 others injured in heavy cross-border firing by Pakistani Army in Jammu and Kashmir's Rajouri sector on Sunday night. As the fighting ensued, residents from villages along the frontier were evacuated by security personnel to prevent any civilian casualties. Meanwhile, normal life in Jammu and Kashmir was brought to a halt on Monday as the separatist shutdown resumed after a relaxation of 2 days. At least 100 civilians have been killed and over 6,000 wounded in over 3 months of clashes between protesters and security forces that started after the killing of Hizbul terrorist Burhan Wani. And we'll take a very short break. Up next, we have all the international and sports news. Stay with us.
Ghata, one of the oldest and most unique percussion instruments of southern India. You can play it not only with your fingers, but palms, wrists and heels as well. You'd be surprised, but the air inside the ghatam reverberates, creating the musical notes. 5 elements of nature: earth, water, air, fire and space make up the composition of this beautiful musical piece, which has found an apt place in most of the ancient books.
Tales that inspire. Stories of social change. A salute to diversity. Promoting public discourse. Events that motivate. Inspiring the innovative spirit. Watch Rajya Sabha television documentaries.
Welcome back. On to some international news. Well, as the fight to retake Mosul from Islamic State rages on, now Shiite paramilitary forces said that they had cut off all the supply routes of the terrorists. Now, 6 weeks into the start of the offensive, it is still not clear if Iraqi-led forces are close to victory or if the Islamic State is digging in for a lengthy war of attrition. So far, what is unfolding is suicide bombs going off in street-to-street fighting and a humanitarian crisis.
منصورة إن شاء الله ونتحرر الدواعش إلى الخلف إن شاء الله ونطب سوريا واليمن إن شاء الله.
Iraqi Shiite paramilitary groups flashing victory signs as they close in to cut the main supply route to Mosul. 6 weeks into the offensive to retake Islamic State's last major stronghold in the country, government forces are all set to take over the highway that links the Syrian and Iraqi parts of the militant self-declared caliphate. Cutting this supply route will seal off Mosul, as the city is already surrounded to the north, south and east by the Iraqi government and Kurdish Peshmerga forces.
بأكمل المطار تم تدميره من قبل داعش وإن شاء الله في الأيام المقبلة التقدم مستمر بالنسبة لمدينة تل أعفر وطرق إمداد اللي تؤدي من سوريا إلى تل أعفر وإلى الموصل.
But the battle is still not over. Inside Mosul, the coalition is meeting fierce resistance. Coalition fighters are making countless grim discoveries, including mass graves, bodies stuffed into wells, and others hanging from lampposts, all attesting to the brutal resolve of the Islamic State. The UN says close to 59,000 people have been displaced since the start of the offensive. Dozens of civilians are killed, either deliberately targeted by the militants or caught in the crossfire. Save the Children estimates that 6 lakh children are trapped inside Mosul. The IS is kidnapping boys as young as 9 and forcing them to fight on their behalf. Hundreds of abducted people are being used as human shields.
إطعام هؤلاء العوائل كما تواصل تقدمها بالاتجاه العسكري حيا بعد حي. العملية تسير على منهج واضح وبخطى واثقة وحسب ما مخطط له من قبل القيادات العليا.
Mosul is the last major stronghold of Islamic State in Iraq, and the terror group has shown it is willing to go to almost any lengths to hold on to it. Clearly, the fight for Mosul is unlikely to reach a swift conclusion. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And now a quick wrap of more international news in the global buzz. At least 27 people were killed and dozens wounded on Monday in a suicide bomb explosion at a crowded Shiite mosque in Kabul. The attacker is said to have entered the Bakir ul Ulum Mosque during a ceremony, but the Taliban, who are seeking to reimpose Islamic law after their 2001 ouster, have denied that they were responsible for the attack. NATO on Monday said that its bond with the US was strong and that training national armed forces in the Middle East is one of their best weapons in the fight against terrorism. The declaration comes after Trump's election campaign raised fears that he could withdraw funding at a time of heightened tensions with Russia. Volkswagen and its powerful labor unions announced an agreement to cut 30,000 jobs at the core Volkswagen brand. The move will avoid forced redundancies in Germany till 2025. The plan now will lead to 3.7 billion euros in annual efficiency gains and lift the brand's operating margin to 4% by 2020. And on to some cricket news now. Well, India have won the second test at Visakhapatnam by 246 runs to take a 1-0 lead in the 5-match series. Now, England, who were chasing a victory target of 405, was skittled out by India for just 158 on the 5th and the final day of the game. Now, the visitors had resumed their second innings at the overnight score of 87 for 2. Indian bowlers then turned the game on its head, taking 5 wickets in the opening session itself and 3 post-lunch. Now, Ravichandran Ashwin and debutant Jayant Yadav bagged 3 wickets each, while Mohammad Shami and Ravindra Jadeja took 2 apiece. Earlier, the hosts were bundled out for 204, which gave England a 405-run target. Remember, the first test had ended in a draw, and the third match of the series will be played in Mohali from Saturday. More sporting action in Sports Beat. The Lodha Committee today sought a Supreme Court's nod to appoint a former Union Home Secretary G.K. Pillai as the observer of BCCI to supervise the board's administration. The committee in its latest report reiterated that office bearers of the Cricket Board BCCI should be sacked. Now, the BCCI says it will be impossible to implement all the panel's proposals, which include an age as well as a tenure cap for top officials and a one state, one vote policy. The All India Football Federation, or the AIFF President Praful Patel, said that India will bid for the 2019 FIFA Under-20 World Cup to further develop the game in the country. Patel said that the hosting of the tournament will further give a boost to our grassroots initiatives. Notably, India will be hosting the FIFA U17 World Cup next year. And in tennis, Andy Murray outclassed Novak Djokovic 6-3, 6-4 to claim his first ATP World Tour Finals title and secure the year-end top ranking on Sunday. Murray pronounced a relentless display to overpower the Serb, whom he had also dislodged from the #1 spot earlier this month. Well, that's all in this edition of news. Thanks so much for watching.